Wait for it. Wait for it. Yes, I know this is the most cliche thing to do in a Maybach, but ever since these cars came out, that is one thing I've always wanted to try. As you can see next to me, I have the all-new 2023 Mercedes Maybach GLS 600, and no, it does not disappoint. In today's video, I'm going to be talking you through some of the features it has in the front and the rear, as well as go for a drive and share my thoughts on the experience. But before we get into the video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the bell notification. As you can see below, I review a lot of cool stuff on the channel. And if you're an automotive enthusiast, you won't want to miss out. With that said, let's get into the video. As you gaze upon the sleek lines and elegant curves that define the GLS 600, you know right away that it's exclusive. On the exterior, you'll notice the little details like the two-tone paint, the iconic grille, the exclusive running boards and 23-inch wheels that make it stand out from the normal GLS. And on the interior, you'll notice that just about every surface you could think of is wrapped in soft, supple leather, complemented by the rear seats that are fully adjustable that feature 6 different massage programs, a champagne cooler, and tray tables that you can extend out to work on. And while most see the 600 badge and assume that it's powered by a V12, in reality, we see the familiar 4.0-liter bi-turbo V8 engine that's featured in most other Mercedes at this point. But in the GLS 600, it produces 538 foot-pounds of torque and 550 horsepower, making for a 0 to 60 time of just 4.8 seconds. But by far one of the most impressive things that no one will talk about is the e-active body control suspension system. In corners with active curve mode engaged, the vehicle is capable of tilting into bends up to 3 degrees, kind of like a motorcycle, to virtually eliminate body roll. And it does all this while scanning the road in real time, adjusting the suspension at each corner to dampen bumps and dips in the road before even hitting them. Seeing that its rivals are nearly double the price, you really do get a lot in the Maybach GLS 600, and it's a true reminder of what Mercedes is capable of when it comes to luxury experiences. Let's get to the tech. You can see you have a heads-up display. You could customize a few things up there, which is pretty cool. If you bump up, hopefully this is coming across on camera, I'm not quite sure yet, but just like the gauge clusters, you could adjust what you see in the left bank, you could adjust what you see in the right bank, and you could display various vehicle information like miles per hour, navigation settings, or just dynamic Distronic Plus cruise control settings. I would say if I had to compare it to say a Bentayga or a Cullinan interior, I think the only things that would really stick out to me is little things like, say, the door handles. The door handles in the Maybach are plastic. The seat controls are plastic. The vents are plastic. I mean, they look nice, but if we're going to nitpick, those are the areas that I would say maybe the Rolls-Royce brand would come ahead a little bit. But in terms of everything else, there's really not anywhere that I can knock the vehicle. I mean, coming down to the center console here, you can see everything's nicely laid out. Everything, again, stitched in leather. You have your wireless charging, Apple CarPlay connection there. Unfortunately, no, this does not have wireless Apple CarPlay, but at least it does have the capability via wire. The software here is very easy to navigate. You can see we have 5 different modes, like in most Mercedes, individual, sport, but the additional modes that you'll see is Maybach mode and curve mode. Seeing that this has e-active body control, when you take turns, it will actually lean the vehicle into the turns, as I will demonstrate later, to improve ride comfort and, just ride quality overall. And another cool thing is when you go into off-road mode, yes, this is one of the party tricks. It's a bit cliche, as I pointed out earlier. However, you hit the suspension button, go to off-road assistant, you have to have it in drive, you hit recovery mode, and that's the mode where the vehicle starts bouncing, which is pretty cool. And the next thing I'll demonstrate is the individual wheel control, which is honestly just frankly amazing. You could raise and lower each corner of the vehicle individually thanks to Mercedes hydraulic e-active body control. I mean, this suspension is just off the charts. I mean, it is the coolest thing, being able to adjust the ground clearance of each corner of the vehicle. I mean, truly an innovative feature, and I have not seen it in any other vehicle, period. And when it comes to assistance features, you have your blind spot warning, your traffic sign assist, I mean, active lane keeping assist, as well as adaptive cruise control on this car, which is pretty standard stuff, especially in a vehicle of this price point. You do have ambient lighting, of course. That's amazing, scattered throughout the car. I mean, it truly is one of the best ambient lights and ambient light systems in the business. And if we go over to seat controls, you could see here we do have driver's passenger seat. You have massage program. You can control the side bolsters, lumbar, all from here, which is really cool. Honestly, Mercedes makes some of the best seats in the business, so really not much to complain about there. When it comes to the stereo system, as I said earlier, it's absolutely amazing. Now, this is the Burmester high-end. This isn't just the normal Burmester that you find in other Mercedes. And you do notice the difference. I mean, the richness in the bass is just absolutely next level. It is truly next level. But the real experience is here in the back seat. And as you can see, it is absolutely gorgeous. You look behind you, you have the Flowing Lines piano black trim with the Burmester speaker grills. Again, fully stitched leather headliner going all the way back. Again, they skipped no corners in this car. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous back here. You have wireless charging right here, and then if you hit the eject button, you get a little tablet, and wait for it to boot up. Start system. Cool thing is you could remote control the main display in the front there, you know, so you could control those functions up there. Or you could just control your seat settings right from the tablet, which is pretty cool. You could start your massage from there, which I'm getting right now, which is very, very nice. You could control the ambient lighting in the car, the shades. I mean, look, if we hit there, close everything, we're going to kind of go into incognito mode. You can see the sun visor is closing up. I mean, wow. It really has gotten a lot cooler back here and definitely feels more exclusive for sure. We're gonna hit open everything there. And of course, let's not forget the best party trick of all. You do have the champagne cooler in the rear, which is pretty cool. It's actually gotten pretty cold since I started the car. And you know, the iPad kind of just stores away. Driving the Maybach, now we're on the highway, the first impression that I have is just how well they did with the sound isolation. I mean, you hear literally nothing from the outside world. Nothing. No cars passing by, no wind as you're going down the road, nothing. And the ride comfort is just truly next level. I mean, we're in Maybach mode now, and it's so hard for me to demonstrate how comfortable this car is to you guys, just because what face do I put on for ride comfort? Yeah, this is it. I got none. But just the level of comfort that this provides is just truly next level. I mean, you feel nothing in the road, which is amazing. I think the next thing that I really like is just the size of it. I love the feeling of piloting just such a large vehicle that just feels so effortless to drive. It almost feels like you're driving, you're on a yacht and you're just pointing it the direction you want to go. It just wafts down the road with such elegance and class. As of late, I haven't necessarily been a fan of a lot of the new models that have come out with Mercedes. I love the S-Class line, but I just feel like, you know, the attention to detail in certain models isn't there. Driving this is absolutely refreshing, and it reminds me just how capable Mercedes is of building some of the best cars in the world, period. I mean, between the attention to detail in the interior, the exterior with the two-tone paint, I mean, it's just the little things that are so expensive to do that Mercedes has not cut corners on in this vehicle. Now, as we discussed earlier, this does have Mercedes 4-liter twin-turbo V8, which we've started to see in pretty much every Mercedes model at this point. And I think one of the most amazing things is how they're able to take almost the same engine, put it in so many different cars and different applications, and just make it absolutely work. I was surprised to see that such a high-strung motor built by AMG could be detuned to the level that this has been detuned to make it absolutely smooth and seamless. You know, I at first, when I heard that this car was a 600, before I really looked into the specs, I thought that it was a V12. And, you know, when I saw that it was the 4-liter V8, I was like, that's not going to be enough motor for a car like this. You know, not for it to be smooth at least. But I have been pleasantly surprised. This does have Mercedes EQ Boost mild hybrid system. And I do think it makes a difference in the smoothness and how this car takes off. Next, we're going to try curve mode, which is pretty cool. With the E active body control, like older active body control systems, if you've followed Mercedes for a while, this mode will actually tip the car into the turns to counteract body roll and movement in general in the car. And wow, you really do notice it almost immediately. Just the takeaways, they're so smooth. And I like how you still hear the V8 just that little bit. It reminds you that you do have a motor there, because, you know, if they made it too quiet, you might almost confuse it for being electric. But I like that you have that little bit there, but it's not too overpowering, because that would be uncharacteristic of a vehicle like this. Now we're on some back roads. This turn up here is most likely going to be a good demonstrator for the curve control program. Wow. It is just uncanny. There is just no body roll in this with this mode on. Nothing. But let's switch to the POV view. This way you guys could kind of get a feel for what it's like to actually be behind the wheel. And one of the most cool things behind the camera gear is, you know, as I said earlier, looking down that long hood at that Mercedes Star, it almost makes you feel like you're in the sedan version, but obviously you're not. You're up high and you have the capabilities of an SUV, which in some situations may be more practical. But I mean, just take a look at how smooth this is, how it builds the power. It's just so effortless. You could drive it literally with one finger. One finger driving. That's what I want in my land yacht. Thank you very much. Yeah. I mean, although the experience in this car is to be a passenger, not necessarily to drive it, it's nice to know that if you did have to drive, you would enjoy it equally. I mean, even though this is big, I don't really care. For some reason, I am still enjoying driving this. I mean, it's almost entertaining to see how an SUV this big is, you know, even though we're only going like 25 miles an hour, going around these corners with such ease, you don't feel it. It's so weird. Any other SUV, you would be moving around in your seat, and that's just not the case with this. And putting it over into sport, let's see if we notice any difference in, you know, the response. I don't expect it to throw me back in my seat, but wow. Even as you give it some gas in sport mode, there's just no drama at all. You know, the nose doesn't pick up at all thanks to the E active body control. You know, it puts a little bit of pressure on the rear. This way you don't have that nose pickup, and it's just so smooth. So smooth. I mean, it starts accelerating, you know, it doesn't feel underpowered by any means, but there's just no drama. There's no weight transfer. To sum up my experience with the Maybach, I think I'm going to stick with my original statement, that it's the best of excessive luxury you could buy. I mean, they've come so far with this platform, and this really doesn't feel like a GLS that's been dressed up. This really does feel like a completely separate experience. I've driven the normal GLS, and trust me, it drives nowhere near to this level of comfort. This is a car that you definitely would want to be driven in. I probably wouldn't buy it to drive it myself. I would buy this if I had a driver and I was going to be driven around in it, just because, I mean, that's kind of the point of it. But there are few cars that will give you this level of comfort. Few cars. I mean, you have massage seats in every seat in this car, and the fit and finish is second to none. With the two-tone paint on the outside, I mean, you could get it in a bunch of different configurations. It truly looks and feels special, but it's also kind of understated too. So if you're somebody who doesn't want maybe the flash or the stigma behind driving a Rolls Royce, or the attention that you get, if you get this in all black or, you know, subtle colors, you really won't stick out that much. Not everybody will realize what this car is. And for some people that might be appealing. You know, if you get a Bentayga or you get a, you know, a Cullinan, those stick out like a sore thumb. And if you're somebody who likes understated luxury, this is definitely your ticket. But I think one of the most important things to point out is that this reminds the world that Mercedes Benz does build some of the best cars, period. I mean, I think, you know, really this is the first product that I've seen Mercedes put out that really reminds me of when they did have a separate Maybach brand and it wasn't just a badge. You know, in 2014, 2015, some of the cars that we saw come out, you know, they started slapping badges on S-Classes. They weren't that impressive. They didn't go to the level of detail and the level of detail that they went through when they had the old Maybach 62s and 57s and whatnot. Those cars, the level of detail and attention, you know, just also separating it from other cars that Mercedes built was just truly next level. And this is starting to get back to that point. For the money, I really do think that you're getting a lot, especially when you consider how much more expensive the Rolls Royce is and how much more expensive the Bentayga is versus this. I mean, you're really not going to be disappointed with the experience that you get in this. But with that said, I've really enjoyed my time in the GLS Maybach, and I think almost anybody would. If you truly are stepping out of a Rolls Royce or Bentley product and thinking about considering one of these, I really do think it's worth looking at finally. Well, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you don't miss out on next week's video. Before we go, I'd like to say a special thanks to my partners down at Mercedes Benz of Greenwich for making today's video possible. They're an awesome, super helpful, friendly group of people to work with, and if you're in the market for a Maybach, I'll be sure to leave their contact information in the description below. With that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you